Episode, we are introducing the Asian Society Against Dementia's webinar on Alzheimer's and Gender, a lifespan story, summarizing it for the listener, and of course giving you an opportunity to go and listen to the entire talk. This is a wonderful talk by Professor Eef Hogervorst, Professor of Biological Psychology, Loughborough University, UK, and it was chaired by Professor Linda Lam, Professor of Psychiatry in the Chinese University of Hong Kong. The striking reality when it comes to Alzheimer's dementia is that 2 out of 3 people affected are women. And in 2011, dementia became the leading cause of death in women in the UK. This striking difference is not explained by longevity alone, says Professor Hogervorst. The disparity reflects biological, hormonal, vascular, and lifestyle factors unique to women's health across the lifespan. Understanding these mechanisms is crucial for developing targeted and prevention and treatment strategies. Now, the higher dementia risk in women extends beyond simply living longer than men. Multiple interconnected biological and social factors appear to converge to create an increased vulnerability throughout the female lifespan. There are hormonal transitions during menopause, and we'll talk about these. There are specific cardiovascular risk patterns. There are metabolic changes that women face in midlife. There are historical educational disparities, and certainly in a previous generation, women were far less likely to be educated to the same level as men. And then there's, of course, the whole caregiving burden and stress that women face, which is unique to them in comparison to men in general. Research increasingly demonstrates that women's brain health follows a distinct trajectory influenced by reproductive hormones, particularly estrogen, which plays a multifaceted role in neuroprotection. Now, estradiol, the primary and most potent form of estrogen, has a central role. It serves as a crucial neuroprotective hormone throughout women's reproductive years. Its influence extends far beyond reproductive function, affecting nearly every aspect of brain health and cognitive function. When it comes to cerebral blood flow, it maintains healthy circulation to brain tissue, ensuring adequate oxygen and nutrient delivery. When it comes to energy metabolism, it supports glucose utilization and ATP production in the neurons. When it comes to synaptic growth, it promotes neuroplasticity and new connection formation. And when it comes to neuroprotection, it guards against oxidative stress and amyloid toxicity. Remember, amyloid is the protein that gets deposited excessively in the brains of people who are affected with Alzheimer's dementia. After menopause, estradiol levels fall sharply, often by about 90% or more, creating profound hormonal shifts that interact with cardiovascular risk, metabolism, sleep quality, mood regulation, and cognitive function. The menopausal transition that women undergo typically spans 4 to 8 years and represents one of the most significant endocrine changes in a woman's life. During this period, declining ovarian function leads to fluctuating and ultimately diminished estrogen levels. In the perimenopausal stage, hormonal fluctuations begin, cycles become irregular, and vasomotor symptoms, hot flushes or chills, start to emerge. Then, of course, in the actual menopause, the final menstrual period is then marked by 12 consecutive months without menstruation, and this is when we are able to say that a person has achieved menopause or likely achieved menopause. And of course, post-menopause, there are stabilized low hormone levels, long-term metabolic and vascular changes that get established. Each phase brings distinct challenges and opportunities for intervention. Understanding this trajectory allows for more strategic approaches to protecting brain health during vulnerable windows. Now, Natural menopause does not cause permanent cognitive decline. It does have an impact temporarily on cognition, and the key contributing factors at this time seem to be sleep disturbances from night sweats, anxiety and mood fluctuations, vasomotor symptoms, hot flushes, and psychosocial stress and role changes that inevitably accompany menopause. Temporary changes that people experience at this time include verbal memory lapses, reduced attention span, slower learning capacity, and word-finding difficulties. Indeed, many women talk about being fogged, experiencing brain fog during this period. Most women do not develop new depression purely because of menopause, and what we do know that the cognitive complaints during the transition are often related to sleep disruption and stress, and not due to permanent brain damage. The good news, therefore, that these cognitive changes, the brain fog that people talk about, commonly normalizes after menopause. Now, there is a myth that menopause causes dementia. The menopausal transition itself is not a cause of dementia or Alzheimer's disease. While cognitive changes, as we discussed, can occur, they are mild and temporary. The reality is that multiple factors seem to interact at this time, and we've already talked about many of these factors, including sleep deprivation and hormonal fluctuations, life change, stress, and vascular changes, and all of this lead to cognitive fogging. Recovery seems to be the case in longitudinal studies, and most women seem to have stabilization of cognitive function and a return to the baseline a few years after their final menstrual period, once the hormonal levels stabilize. So therefore, there is an appearance of cognitive fogging during the menopause, but this does not last once menopause is established and seems to correct itself over the years, which is really good news. Now, how do you reduce the risk of dementia if you're a woman? Now, what we do know is that if you can do 10,000 steps a day, you reduce your risk by about 50%. But there is also a minimal daily threshold of 3,800 steps. Why is this important? Exercise improves multiple systems in our body. It regulates our blood pressure and improves our vascular health. It improves glucose metabolism and insulin sensitivity. It reduces systemic inflammation. There is an improvement when you exercise in your brain blood flow and oxygen delivery. There is neuronal growth and BDNF production in this period. And of course, neuroplasticity and cognitive reserve are improved through exercise. And yoga in particular seems to offer additional benefits. There is improved sleep quality due to yoga, reduced anxiety, enhanced mood, lower blood pressure, and healthier body composition. And therefore, I would also ask you to listen to our podcast on yoga and the brain. It's extremely important, I think, to refer back to that podcast at this time. Walking, of course, remains one of the most accessible and sustainable forms of dementia prevention available to nearly everyone. So if you're not tracking how much you walk, please do start tracking it, and let me remind you of these two magic numbers: optimally 10,000 steps a day, but a minimum threshold of 3,800 steps a day. Now, how do you make these movement goals practical? Start where you are. Begin with your current activity level and gradually increase 500 to 1,000 steps every week to reach the optimal. Build consistency. Daily movement matters more than occasional intense exercise, so aim for a sustainable set of habits. Find what form of exercise you enjoy. Not everyone likes to walk. Some of us like to jog, some of us like to dance, swim, yoga of course, garden. Any movement you do maintains your health in the long term. Track your progress. Use a simple pedometer or smartphone app to monitor your steps and stay motivated. And of course, add variety. Combining aerobic activity with strength training and balance exercises does give you more comprehensive benefits. Remember, even modest increases in physical activity produce measurable benefits for brain health. The goal is progress, not perfection. Now, what's the story with regard to hormone replacement therapy or HRT? Early studies, the observational research in the 1990s, suggested that HRT might protect against dementia and cognitive decline. These findings generated considerable optimism about estrogen's neuroprotective potential. Larger trials done later, like the Women's Health Initiative and other randomized controlled trials, showed an increased dementia risk in older women, especially when combined estrogen progesterone therapy was initiated years after menopause. This apparent contradiction led to intensive research and the development of the critical window or timing hypothesis of estrogen therapy, which has fundamentally changed our understanding of HRT's effects on brain health. So the window of time hypothesis suggests that early initiation, estrogen started during perimenopause or early menopause, may be neutral or mildly protective for cognition. Late initiation, estrogen started many years after menopause, especially in older women with vascular risk, can actually increase dementia risk. Long-term combined therapy, the extended use of estrogen plus progestin, carries higher risk, particularly when initiated in older age or continued beyond 5 to 10 years. People who have a surgical menopause, women who undergo oophorectomy before natural menopause, face higher long-term dementia risk without estrogen replacement therapy. So this is really an indication for this. And early observational studies were distorted by the fact that women who took HRT were healthier, more educated, and more affluent overall. Thus, the timing, duration, formulation, and individual vascular health status matter significantly in determining HRT outcomes for brain health. In the balanced conclusion is that estradiol may offer short-term cognitive benefit in some women when initiated early. Long-term or late use can be harmful, especially in older or vascularly vulnerable brains. HRT decisions therefore require individualized assessment of risks, benefits, and timing in consultation with a knowledgeable healthcare provider. The relationship between HRT and dementia is nuanced and patient-specific. It's not binary and certainly not one size fits all. For clinicians and patients considering hormone therapy, a systematic approach to risk-benefit analysis is essential, says our speaker, Professor Hogervorst. Decisions should account for multiple dimensions of health status and personal preference, including an assessment of the history. A personal and family history of dementia, cardiovascular disease, and cancer is obviously very significant. Close monitoring to reassess risks and benefits. The evaluation of symptoms to understand the severity of menopausal symptoms and the impact on the quality of life. Screening for other risks like blood pressure, lipids, glucose, BMI, smoking. Here we use a paradigm called HOLD. Hypertension, obesity, lipids, especially LDL levels, and diabetes are extremely important, as is smoking, stress, and sleep deprivation. And of course, consider timing. How many years after menopause and what is the current age of the patient? This cyclical process of assessment, treatment, and monitoring will ensure that HRT decisions remain appropriate as a woman's health status evolves over time. Beyond hormones, we need to also consider cardiovascular health, because what protects the heart protects the brain. there is an intimate connection between cardiovascular and brain health, and this cannot be overstated. Conditions that damage blood vessels, I mentioned hold before, hypertension, obesity, high cholesterol or lipids, and diabetes dramatically increase dementia risk through multiple mechanisms. And the vascular mechanisms that increase dementia risk include things like reduced cerebral blood flow, small vessel disease and white matter damage in the brain, microinfarcts and silent strokes, impaired blood-brain barrier function, and chronic inflammation. In women specifically, cardiovascular risk escalates after menopause as estrogen's protective effects on vascular endothelium decline. This makes midlife an especially critical period for cardiovascular risk management. So dementia prevention in women is not a single act, it's a lifelong process. It's not just a single intervention, but a comprehensive approach which addresses multiple modifiable risk factors. The Lancet Commission has identified that up to 40% of dementia cases could potentially be prevented or delayed. Look at these focus points based on what we have spoken about until now. We've just talked about cardiovascular health. We talked earlier about education and cognitive reserve. Metabolic control is very important. Smoking avoidance is extremely important. We cannot overemphasize the importance of physical activity. And of course, social engagement is extremely important. Other things that matter include sleep quality. 7 to 8 hours of quality sleep supports amyloid clearance and memory consolidation. Please remember, amyloid protein is a waste product that gets deposited in your brain, and it actually clears better when you sleep better. Stress management is extremely important, and chronic stress and elevated cortisol damage hippocampal neurons over time. Remember from our earlier podcasts, the hippocampus is the small structure on either side of your brain, just the size of a finger joint, which is the storehouse of all your memories. And one factor that we often forget about is hearing health. Untreated hearing loss in midlife significantly increases dementia risk. Now, how do you build, therefore, protection against dementia? And this, of course, is the building of cognitive reserve. What is cognitive reserve? It refers to the brain's resilience and ability to maintain function despite pathological changes. Higher reserve allows the brain to better compensate for age-related changes and neurodegenerative processes. And what helps? Years of formal education strongly correlate with lower dementia risk throughout life. Occupational complexity, mentally demanding work builds neural connections and cognitive flexibility. Continued learning in midlife and beyond maintains cognitive reserve, languages, instruments, new skills, and novel, challenging mental activities promote neuroplasticity more than routine tasks. Women historically faced educational barriers, which may partly explain higher dementia rates. Encouraging education and intellectual engagement across the lifespan is a crucial public health strategy. We talked about sleep. Please remember that sleep is the brain's cleaning system, and during deep sleep, the brain's lymphatic system clears metabolic waste products, including amyloid beta peptides that accumulate in Alzheimer's disease. Chronic sleep deprivation impairs this critical clearance mechanism. So, 7 to 8 hours of quality sleep is optimal. Sleep apnea, which often goes undiagnosed, dramatically increases dementia risk because it also impedes cardiovascular and cerebrovascular health. And if someone snores constantly in their sleep, or if they have big gaps in their breathing, please remember they're at risk of sleep apnea and need to be investigated for that. Sleep disruption is of course common during menopause, and treating sleep disorders properly can reduce cognitive risk. Mental health is also extremely important. Depression, anxiety, and chronic stress are not merely comorbidities, they are independent risk factors for dementia. The biological mechanisms include elevated cortisol, inflammation, and, as we said, hippocampal atrophy. Late life depression seems to increase dementia risk twofold. Chronic stress damages our memory centers, as we already discussed. Social isolation compounds risk, and one cannot emphasize more the importance of socialization in maintaining cognitive health. Isolation and loneliness are predictors of cognitive decline. Treatment and prevention, therefore, are extremely important for mental health conditions as well. So, assessing sleep disorders and addressing them, assessing mental health and addressing it proactively, especially during the menopausal transition, represents an important but often overlooked dementia prevention strategy for women. So here are some practical steps for women from this wonderful talk by Professor Eef Hogervorst. Know your numbers. Monitor your blood pressure, glucose, cholesterol and BMI regularly. Aim for optimal control, especially in the middle. Move your body daily. Aim for 3,800 steps. Ideally, rise this to 10,000 steps. Add strength training twice weekly. Find activities you genuinely enjoy. Prioritize sleep. Establish consistent sleep routines. Address sleep apnea, insomnia, or other disorders promptly. And protect 7 to 8 hours of sleep nightly. Stay socially connected. Maintain meaningful relationships. Join clubs. Volunteer. Pursue group activities. Isolation, as we were saying, increases dementia risk significantly. Challenge your brain, learn new skills, languages or hobbies, engage in complex, novel activities that require sustained attention and learning. And discuss HRT thoughtfully if you're experiencing significant menopausal symptoms. Do have an informed conversation with your healthcare provider about personalized risks and benefits. So the key takeaways from Professor Hogervorst's very, very interesting talk was that women have a disproportionately high dementia risk due to biological and hormonal factors. It's not just a longevity thing. Estradiol's decline after menopause affects multiple brain systems, metabolism, blood flow, and neuroprotection. Physical activity is extremely important and can meaningfully reduce dementia risk. Movement is medicine. The timing of HRT matters. Given early, it can be protective. Given later, it may contribute to more damage. Lifelong prevention comes from working on our hold factors: hypertension, obesity, LDL, lipids, diabetes, and of course, sleep and smoking. And a personalized approach is extremely important. It has to be tailored to each woman's unique risk profile and life stage, and for this a detailed conversation with your healthcare provider is important. The presentation just captures essential insights, and if you'd like to learn more, or if you are a specialist in any of these areas or a healthcare provider, then I would recommend that you actually listen to Professor Eef Hogervorst's entire lecture and the discussion that followed, which will clarify matters much, much more. Thank you so much.